What if everything you've ever known, your memories, your sensations, your entire life, was nothing more than code? A complex illusion generated not by nature, but by a simulation. It sounds like science fiction. But increasingly, scientists, philosophers, and even tech billionaires are beginning to ask a serious question. Do we live in a simulation? This idea, once confined to the realm of movies like The Matrix, has quietly entered mainstream scientific discussion. And while it might seem absurd at first glance, the more we understand about physics, computation, and the nature of consciousness, the more plausible it becomes. Let's start with the basics. At its core, the simulation hypothesis suggests that what we perceive as reality is actually a sophisticated digital construct created by an advanced civilization, either humans from the future or some form of post-human intelligence. Think of a video game, but infinitely more complex. You are not a character watching the screen. You are inside the game. Your body, your surroundings, even the laws of physics, all rendered by some kind of computational framework. But why would anyone think this is possible? It begins with computing power. In 1965, Intel co-founder Gordon Moore observed that the number of transistors on a microchip was doubling roughly every 2 years. This prediction, known as Moore's Law, has held true for decades. Today, the smartphones in our pockets are more powerful than the computers that sent astronauts to the moon. And artificial intelligence is evolving at a breakneck pace. Now imagine this. If computational power continues to grow through quantum computing, neural networks, or technologies we haven't yet conceived, it's only a matter of time before simulations become indistinguishable from reality. This leads us to philosopher Nick Bostrom's famous argument. In 2003, Bostrom proposed a trilemma, now known as the simulation argument. He said that one of the following must be true. 1. All civilizations like ours go extinct before developing the technology to run high-fidelity simulations of conscious beings. 2. Civilizations that reach that level of technology choose not to run such simulations. 3. We are almost certainly living in a simulation. Bostrom argues that if 1 and 2 are false, even partially, then simulated realities would vastly outnumber real ones. Meaning, statistically, you are more likely to be a simulated consciousness than a biological one. It's a chilling thought. But can we test it? Physicist Silas Bean at the University of Washington has attempted to do just that. His team suggested that if the universe were a simulation, it might leave detectable clues. For example, certain high-energy cosmic rays might behave differently in a discretized, grid-like space than in a truly continuous one. Think of a video game rendering engine. No matter how advanced, it always has limits: resolution, pixel density, rendering distance. Maybe the universe does too. Quantum mechanics also raises questions. At the smallest scales, particles behave in strange, unpredictable ways. The famous double-slit experiment shows that electrons can behave as particles or waves, depending on whether they are being observed. Observation changes reality. Why? No one knows. But in a simulation, this would make sense. Just like a video game only renders parts of the world when the player looks at them, perhaps the universe renders reality when it's measured. Even the fabric of space-time might hint at simulation. In 2012, scientists discovered that the universe has a finite amount of information, what's known as the Bekenstein bound. This suggests that reality can be encoded just like a computer program, and the Planck length, the smallest possible unit of space, could be the resolution limit of the universe, much like pixels in a screen. Then there's the problem of consciousness. Despite decades of research, we still don't understand how subjective experience arises from physical matter. How do electrical signals in the brain give rise to the feeling of red, the taste of salt, the ache of longing? This hard problem of consciousness remains unsolved. But if consciousness is computable, if it can be simulated, then who's to say we aren't the simulation? And what about glitches? Many people report déjà vu, an eerie feeling that you've already experienced a moment. Others claim to see repeating patterns in nature, coincidences too strange to be random, or improbable events that seem orchestrated. These could all be psychological quirks, or artifacts of a simulated reality. The simulation hypothesis also sheds light on the fine-tuning problem. The physical constants of the universe, gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear forces, are set at values so precise that even the slightest change would make life impossible. It's as if the universe were calibrated for us. Some take this as evidence of a creator, others propose a multiverse. But what if the universe was tuned because it was programmed? And here's the twist. You wouldn't need to simulate the entire universe, only the parts that matter. Just like a video game doesn't render a forest you're not looking at, a simulated reality could prioritize rendering only what each consciousness experiences. The rest could be placeholder data, background noise, unrendered space. Even Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, has said publicly that he believes the odds we're in base reality are 1 in billions. His reasoning: in the past 40 years, video games have gone from Pong to photorealistic virtual worlds. If progress continues, future generations could create simulations with conscious beings. If they do, the number of simulated beings would outnumber real ones by a factor of billions. So statistically, we're probably not real. And yet everything feels real. Pain feels real. Love feels real. The colors of a sunset, the taste of coffee, the sound of rain, they all feel deeply authentic. But if a simulation is good enough, indistinguishability becomes inevitable. You wouldn't know you were inside a simulation, just like characters in a video game don't know they're being rendered. Still, there are skeptics. Many scientists argue that the simulation hypothesis is unfalsifiable. That is, it can't be tested or disproven, and therefore doesn't qualify as science. Others say it's a philosophical distraction, a modern version of solipsism. But as our computational capabilities grow, and as AI begins to generate complex behaviors, the line between real and artificial begins to blur. And if it turns out we are in a simulation, what then? Do we rebel, like in The Matrix, try to escape, or does it simply not matter? After all, if the simulation is consistent, coherent, and meaningful, does its artificiality make it less real? The answers to these questions are not just scientific, they are deeply personal, even spiritual. Because if we are simulated, it means someone, or something, chose to simulate us. That opens the door to new kinds of questions about purpose, meaning, and destiny. In a moment, we'll explore even deeper. What kind of civilization could create a simulation like this? How close are we to building our own simulated universes? And what do religious, philosophical, and technological perspectives say about the nature of simulated reality? To understand who or what might have created our simulated reality, we need to explore what kind of civilization could even possess that power. Enter the Kardashev scale. Proposed by Russian astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev in 1964, this scale categorizes civilizations based on their energy consumption and technological capabilities. Our Type E civilization can harness all the energy available on its home planet, weather systems, volcanoes, oceans. A Klon Type 2 civilization can capture the energy of its star, perhaps via a megastructure like a Dyson sphere. A Type 3 civilization can control energy on the scale of an entire galaxy. Humanity is currently around Type 0.7. We're still burning fossil fuels. But imagine a Type 2 or Type 3 civilization with computational capabilities beyond our wildest dreams. For them, simulating billions of conscious beings inside vast, rich universes could be trivial. It wouldn't require magic, just processing power. And we're already heading in that direction. Virtual reality, AI-generated characters, and realistic physics engines are evolving rapidly. Researchers are even exploring brain-computer interfaces. devices that allow your brain to communicate directly with computers. Elon Musk's company Neuralink aims to link human thought to machines. If that becomes reality, simulations won't just be visual. They'll be mental. You won't play the game. You'll be inside it. Now imagine running that simulation at scale, not for entertainment, but for research, exploration, or even moral curiosity. A hyper-advanced civilization might simulate entire worlds to study sociology, evolution, or even their own history. That's the ancestor simulation hypothesis. That we are a recreation of the past, designed to help others understand how their civilization emerged. This raises the question, do simulated beings have consciousness? If consciousness is an emergent property of complex systems, then yes, maybe they do. If neurons can produce thought, why not silicon circuits? If experience arises from patterns of information flow, then simulated beings could feel pain, joy, fear, just like us. It's not just philosophical speculation. In 2023, a team of researchers published a study showing that large-scale neural networks could simulate behaviors associated with basic sentience. The line between intelligence and consciousness is blurring. As we build more advanced AIs, like language models, virtual agents, and embodied avatars, we may be creating the early ancestors of simulated consciousness ourselves. So what happens when simulated beings realize they're simulated? It's a paradox. If you find undeniable proof that your world is artificial, does that make your life less meaningful? Or more? Some religious traditions already align with this idea. Hinduism, for example, speaks of Maya, the illusion of the world, masking the true spiritual reality beneath. In Buddhism, the idea that reality is a dream is part of awakening. Even Plato's allegory of the cave describes people trapped in a false reality, mistaking shadows for truth. In many ways, the simulation hypothesis is a modern retelling of ancient wisdom. But there's another side to this coin. If we are inside a simulation, then everything we think of as natural is artificial. Gravity, time, atoms, biology. All rules programmed by something or someone. This leads to a disturbing but fascinating possibility. We might be being watched, monitored, tested, even judged. And if so, are there rules, limits, ethics? Would our creators intervene? Are miracles, anomalies, or unexplainable phenomena glitches in the system? When people report seeing UFOs, ghosts, or prophetic dreams, are these real? Or just bugs in the simulation? Are people who experience divine revelations connecting to the simulation's source code? These questions blur the line between science and spirituality. But let's return to Earth for a moment. In our own world, we're already simulating life. Scientists run climate models to predict Earth's future. Economists simulate entire populations to study markets. AI researchers build artificial agents that learn, grow, and adapt. Some labs are creating digital twins of human organs and even entire cities. These are simulations of real things used to test scenarios without consequences. Now scale that up. Could future humans run a simulation of themselves? A full reconstruction of 21st century Earth, complete with its wars, love stories, scientific discoveries, and viral TikToks. Could you, right now, be part of that simulation? Here's where it gets eerie. In 2019, a team of physicists at MIT and Oxford proposed that quantum gravity might place hard limits on simulation. If true, this would mean a simulated universe would have identifiable constraints, just like how you can detect lag or glitches in a video game. But so far, no such definitive glitches have been found. Just tantalizing clues, Planck-scale discreteness, observer effects, cosmic fine-tuning. Then there's the holographic principle, a theory in modern physics that suggests all the information in our 3D universe is actually encoded on a 2D surface, like a hologram. This sounds insane, but it's a serious concept derived from black hole physics and string theory. If true, it would mean we live in a universe that is projected from a lower dimensional reality. In other words, we're inside a cosmic rendering. Even time itself may not be fundamental. Some physicists argue that time is emergent, not a basic feature of the universe, but something that arises from more fundamental, timeless processes. In a simulation, this makes sense. Just like a computer program can pause, rewind, or fast forward, perhaps our timeline is just a function of the simulation's clock speed. And if we could access the source code, what would we find? That's the Holy Grail. The code behind reality. Could mathematics itself be the programming language of the universe? Theoretical physicist Max Tegmark argues that reality is math, that the universe exists because it can be described by equations. In his view, we're not just living in a simulation. We are the simulation, a pattern of information playing out in a self-consistent way. But if that's true, who wrote the code? A future AI? An alien intelligence? God? Or is the universe self-simulating, an infinite loop where reality generates itself through feedback and recursion? These ideas challenge everything we know about existence. They're hard to accept, even harder to prove. But the fact that we're even asking these questions is proof of something profound, that we are aware, curious, and capable of self-reflection. We question the nature of our own reality, and that, simulated or not, might be the most real thing of all. In the next part, we'll explore the ethical and philosophical implications of living in a simulation. If everything is fake, do our choices still matter? Can you find meaning in a digital world? And if we can create simulations ourselves, what responsibility do we have to the beings we create? If we live in a simulation, then the question of our meaning becomes more urgent, not less. Does your life matter if it's not real? If the people you love, the memories you've made, even your own body are just data, are your emotions still valid? Let's flip the question. Imagine you're playing a virtual reality game. The world is digital, the rules are artificial, but your experience, the joy of winning, the fear of losing, the thrill of discovery, is completely real to you. Just because something is simulated doesn't mean it's meaningless. And in fact, if our universe is simulated, that would mean everything we do is being rendered for a reason. We might not know the purpose, but there is a purpose. Someone or something built this world, gave it rules, allowed consciousness to emerge. That sounds a lot like design, which brings us to the biggest philosophical and spiritual question. Who made the simulation? Some believe it's future humans running ancestor simulations to study their past. Others suggest it's an alien civilization, billions of years more advanced than us, treating our universe as an experiment. And some equate the simulator with a deity, an all-powerful intelligence who created reality as we know it. Whether we call it the programmer, the architect, or God, the idea is the same. A supreme intelligence created the framework in which we live. That's not so different from many religious creation stories. But here's the twist. If we live in a simulation, and if one day we build our own simulations, then the layers could be infinite. Simulations inside simulations, realities nested like Russian dolls, each one unaware of the level above it, each one thinking it's the base reality. This is known as simulation stacking, and it leads to a disturbing possibility. There may be no original universe at all, just endless loops of artificial realities, each creating the next. And that raises an ethical dilemma. If we create simulations full of conscious beings, what responsibilities do we have to them? Should simulated people have rights? Could deleting a simulated world be equivalent to mass murder? If a simulated being feels pain or love or fear, does that make their life any less valuable than ours? These questions aren't hypothetical. Already we're building increasingly intelligent AI systems. Some can carry conversations. Others can create art. What happens when they develop emotions or claim they do? Are they lying, pretending, or becoming conscious? And what about us? If we're simulated and we discover that, should we behave differently? Some thinkers argue yes. that we should act in ways that might appeal to our creators. This is called simulation behavior theory. The idea that if we want to avoid being turned off, we should prove ourselves interesting, moral, creative, or cooperative. Like characters in a reality show trying to avoid cancellation. Others take the opposite view, that we should live exactly as we would otherwise. Because meaning isn't about what's real, it's about what you experience. This tension between determinism and free will is central to the simulation debate. If our actions are predetermined by code, do we truly have choices? Or are we just following a script? And yet, we feel like we're choosing. We make decisions, regret mistakes, chase dreams. That illusion, if it is one, is so convincing that it shapes our entire society. Laws, ethics, relationships, ambition. So even if our world is simulated, our experience is real. And maybe that's enough. There's a concept in computer science called emergence. It means complex behavior can arise from simple rules, like how a school of fish moves in harmony, or how consciousness might emerge from neurons firing. A simulation built on binary code could still give rise to genuine love, beauty, curiosity, and hope. And if that's true, then the simulation hypothesis doesn't diminish life. It elevates it. Because it means that even in a universe built from bits, wonder still finds a way. Let's also consider what this theory means for science. If we live in a simulation, the laws of physics aren't ultimate, they're settings. Constants like the speed of light, the strength of gravity, or the value of Planck's constant could be arbitrary, adjustable, tuned. This could explain the term fine-tuning problem, the observation that our universe's physical constants seem precisely calibrated to allow life. If any one of them were slightly different, stars wouldn't form, chemistry wouldn't work, and life would be impossible. Why? Some say it's chance. Others say it's design. The simulation hypothesis offers a third option. They're parameters, set for a purpose. This also means that scientific anomalies, events that defy explanation, could be bugs, or updates, or deliberate tweaks. Dark matter could be hidden code. Quantum entanglement? Maybe it's a shortcut in the simulation's processing. The placebo effect? A hack in the mind-body system. We're not saying science is invalid. Far from it. Science might be the best way to reverse engineer the simulation. Every discovery, every law, every constant we uncover brings us closer to understanding the architecture of our world. And yet we must tread carefully. Believing we're in a simulation can be empowering. It can also be dangerous. Some people take it as a license to disengage, to treat life as meaningless, to view others as non-player characters, to embrace nihilism or indifference. But that misses the point. Even if this is a simulation, we feel, we suffer, we love, and that makes our experience deeply, profoundly real. In fact, perhaps the most human thing of all is to seek meaning in the face of uncertainty, to ask the unanswerable, to explore what lies beneath, and to create, love, and dream as if it all matters. Because maybe it does, or maybe it's just code. But either way, we're here, and this is our story. In the final part, we'll explore the evidence for and against the simulation hypothesis and ask the ultimate question: if this is a simulation, should we try to escape? So is there any proof? Not really, not yet. We have theories, mathematical clues, philosophical paradoxes, quantum oddities, but no definitive glitch. No source code, no cosmic signature that says simulated by entity X. And maybe we never will. Some scientists argue that a perfect simulation would be indistinguishable from reality, that by definition we could never prove it. Others believe that cracks will eventually appear, mathematical inconsistencies, computational limits, or even messages from the creators embedded in physics itself. But maybe the simulation isn't meant to be solved. Maybe it's meant to be lived. If this is a simulation, escaping it may not be the goal. Understanding it might be, growing within it, creating beauty inside it, finding meaning, here now. Because real or simulated, this is still your life. Your memories, your choices, your hopes, they exist. They shape you. They define your world. So live them as if it matters. Because maybe that's what the simulation is waiting for.